the people of Diego Martin West.
He's not the only one.
I know, but I can only speak to this because of my position now as candidate for Diego Martin West. And I'm saying that we need to get back to a place where the 41 seats in the House of Representatives are respected for what they are, and they belong to the constituents and the voters in the constituency. They don't belong to a political party. When I get into the House, I will be representing the people of Diego Martin West, and I'll be speaking on their behalf, and I should be corresponding with them regularly to find out their views and opinions on national issues and what they want addressed in the House of Representatives, because that's the only purpose of the House.
Fabian, you contested the by-election.
Yeah.
Didn't win.
Didn't get to Parliament. Had a victory. Didn't get to Parliament.
But you're going up again.
Yes, I am. And you're right about the history poll, about the absence of independence, but our early parliaments was made up only of independence until the party systems came. And I think, I don't want to echo what has been said here already, but so much just to say that it wouldn't change if we don't try to change it. And I'm willing to try to change it. I've expressed that in 2013. I had my campaign. I faced the polls. And I'm at this point willing to face the polls again because I wanted to change. So I'm not trying to talk it into changing. I'm stepping up and doing what I
What's going to make the difference, given the fact that the party system has its built-in advantages? There is usually great funding directed.
Big money.
There are usually big rallies. They have built-in support, though some say it's ethnically based support. Some may see it as a positive, some may see it as a negative.
You still going in order?
With
this question?
If you could jump in. What's going to make a difference with you in terms of your resources and ability to counteract that big spend, the existing built-in goodwill, if you would put it like that, of an incumbent government or a party like the PNM that has run the country before and has a certain level of gravitas in society, whether you support them or not? Philip, you want to jump in there?
Well, I just want to say this, that the last 3 polls have said that more than half of the population want nothing to do with the 2 parties.
It's 32 to 35%.
The NACTA poll before was more than 50%. I was on television the morning that Mr. Henry from Solutions and Simulations went on, and he was trying to explain to Fazir that his technicians were having difficulty keeping people on the phone when they call them to speak to them about politics. Trinidadians are so disenchanted. They're so frustrated with a broken system. They know that the representation that they're supposed to get on the ground, they're not getting. They hear the talk. I mean, in Diego Martin, we've had a Diego Martin highway budgeted for years, and it was never materializing. And we were stuck in traffic every single day.
It's materialized now.
I don't believe the average person in the electorate know or understand what representation is. I know and I'm convinced we reached to this eater food place where they're going to vote for who could promise them the bigger pie. But it's only promises. All the elections have been promises. Philip talking about Diego Martin, I remember being 7 and 8 years old, politicians coming to sit with my father to talk about the Point Fortin Highway and the Point Fortin Hospital. Neither of them have reached a Point Fortin yet. But the electorate get hooked on
this. If the electorate is disenchanted with existing parties, why then? Why do you think you make this?
Because we could bring issues to the fore. Having us on the TV this morning, we're going to talk issues. To Earl, the politics is encapsulated.
Why should we just not believe that you just want to get elected like everyone else according to?
Because there's only a small plate of food.
We're the ones that have to lose more. We have nothing to gain. We have no agenda.
What do you have to lose? You have a raise in national profile.
I believe
you have what is that translate to? And let me go to Philip on this. You have been a consultant with People's Partnership personnel for the last 5 or so years. Why not just throw your support behind this partnership? You've been closely associated with the government in power.
Because I want to quote Clarence Ramarat, who is now a candidate, surprisingly, ironically, for the PNM. Clarence wrote an article I will never stop quoting. He said the election in 2015 is going to be a decision as to who is less worse. And if you can say that the decision between the 2 existing parties is a decision between who is less worse, and you throw your hat in with them, you're admitting, you're capitulating to the failure of the system. We 3 here and others, because there are others, there are going to be a lot of independents. And which brings me to this point. The $5,000 deposit is is an obstacle to democracy. I think that that deposit should be removed. It should be reduced to $500. We need 15, 20 independents throwing their hats in every seat. We need people to have real deep choice. So all of a sudden the conversation will get to the point of what's in it for the people.
Isn't the way to show that people are serious? $5,000 when you think about it. Otherwise, anyone would, and everyone has the right to offer themselves to serve.
Sure, but cook a kite up before they carry down.
Well serious. You said that you said that big money, big spending, and so. But you saw in our elections earlier with the PNM and the UNC when they had the elections in Tobago, they gave them everything you could imagine. As a matter of fact, I was in Tobago and I saw things given away like food cards. You got money, you got a lot of stuff, and between you and me, there was a clean sweep for the PNM.
So you're suggesting the
UNC, while we were in Tobago, I saw people, were getting, they were happy, they were getting a lot out of this government. The present government, the sitting government. And the sitting government invested a lot of time. As a matter of fact, they were all the ministers and MPs and so went to Tobago. And what happened? They took everything they could get and they gave them not even one seat.
We're going to come back and continue our conversation. We're talking to those who have declared their intention to run as independents in the 2015 general elections. This is Political Capital. Stay with us.
One day, when the glory comes, it will be ours, it will be ours. Oh, one day, when the war is won, we will be sure, we will be sure. Oh, glory, glory, every man, woman, and child. Even Jesus got his crown in front of a crowd. They march with the torch, we gon' run with it now. Never look back, we done gone hundreds of miles. From dark roads, heroes, to become a hero. Facing the League of Justice, his power was the people. Enemy is lethal, a king became regal. Saw the face of Jim Crow under a bald eagle.
Welcome back. It's Political Capital on CTV as we count down to election 2015. Our guests, Errol Fabian, contesting as an independent for St. Joseph seat, Philip Edward Alexander for the Diego Martin West seat, and Cherelle De Souza for the San Fernando West seat. Let me start with Errol on this. What's the major issue, or what are the major issues for you in this election as we count down to the election?
For me, what is very important is to communicate to the people of St. Joseph that put me there. But don't expect I have a magic wand. I'm fixing for a fight. If I get into, or when I get into the parliament, is when work starts in St. Joseph. We have so much work to do to build our country. There's so much wrong infrastructurally and so much wrong with respect to representation and legislation in our country. It's not no, when we win, that is not no joke. There are no big victories when the people start to work to build our constituency. That is when the victory happens.
You've offered yourself before.
Yes, I have.
And Terence Dial saying on. What's going to make a difference this time? Why well, the people didn't choose you months ago? Why will they choose you now?
I don't know. I want to work. Coming up, I'm going to have a campaign. This time I didn't have a campaign.
But the people made a choice.
They made a choice and asked the people who chose, what has our MP done for the constituency? When did our MP come to us and ask how we felt about the bail bill, how we felt about the runoff? These things he voted on our behalf without consulting with us. The MP before him, I'm not sure what he did, or the MP before him. I've been living in that constituency for 20 years. I see them twice when they walk along our street just before the election. I live there, I work there, I work in the community there, I've opened a homework center, I'm working with football clubs, I work with Keep Fit clubs, I'm working with all kinds of people to make their lives better. That's what I do. I want to work, I want to build my constituency. And whether I make a difference in Parliament or not is not an issue for me. I make a difference. I'm a turnaround artist. I'm the real deal, Paul. I'm the real deal. I roll up my sleeve and go to work.
If we had every time candidates said I'm the real deal, in elections around we'd be billionaires.
Of course we would be. And we are billionaires in Trinidad, but we don't feel as though we live in a rich country. We live in a filthy rich country. But I don't feel like 400 billion has been spent in my country for my betterment over the last decade or so.
What are the main issues for you?
Well, I mean, I want to again echo what Errol just said. When we have serious bills like that to become law, like the runoff and bail amendment bill, and we do not go back to the population and say, this is what we're talking about in the Parliament, we're here to inform you, to get your position on this so we can take it back to the Parliament. And so we would get a position where we would know what Trinidad thinks, not what two parties think, and those two parties are beholden to financiers and special interests. What goes on in the House of Representatives now is not indicative of what is going on the ground in Trinidad and Tobago, and that's why the population want nothing to do with the process. This morning, while I'm sitting here, people are getting dressed to go down Chaguaramas. They use the boardwalk and other facilities in Chaguaramas, and it's going to take them 5 hours to get back home this evening. And they know that. And the Member of Parliament, who has been there for 25 years, seen that deteriorate outside the window of his office and has spoken nothing to the issue. He's been in government. He's had the opportunity. Errol said $400 billion. If you take half of that and spend that on the development of the constituencies, then each constituency would have had $1 billion spent on them since 2010. I don't see that in Diego Martin West. They have some work going on in Chaguaramas. I told the Minister of Works, Dr. Surajatan Rambachan, we cannot put a brick on top of brick in Chaguaramas until we fix the Carenage Road. Western Main Road Carenage is now an obscenity to people trying to get to Chaguaramas.
There are those who say, well, you are challenging someone who's announced his intention to bring a lawsuit against you, and you have been closely associated as a consultant with the People's Partnership. There's some who suggest on social media, well, you're offering yourself as a spoiler. And you're already working for the People's Partnership. I
welcome this lawsuit. I've tried to sue Anil Roberts when he was in the House. I tried to sue the Speaker. I think the Parliament live broadcast is an aberration. There is no law that gives the Parliament live broadcast a privilege. The privilege is for inside the House of Parliament, so that nobody could sue each other for slander, because the court is lower to deal with exchanges between members of Parliament because of the separation of powers. Lo and behold, we have a live broadcast. So for members of Parliament like Keith Rowley, they use the fact that they are protected by privilege to slander and scandalize. And I want Keith Rowley to sue me. In fact, I've instructed my attorneys who are cocked and on standby waiting on his pre-action protocol letter. Because the moment he starts, we are going to counter-sue him to keep him so he can't run away from us. He is raising it. We are going to join the Speaker of the House in this matter. Somebody's going to have to explain to the public how the live broadcast comes to have privilege. Because the law of slander requires that my injury of you must be authentic information. If the live broadcast, if Vanilla Allen Topping slandered Keith Rowley, I cannot re-slander him. It's already there. It's in the public domain. The real slander was the Parliament live broadcast. Ultimately, if Vanilla Allen Topping is protected by privilege, who then allows her information to be broadcast to the world?
That's going to be a court case if Dr. Rowley follows through on his announcement. As I said before, there are those who suggest, well, you've worked closely with several People's Partnership high-ranking officials in the past as a communication strategist, if I'm not mistaken. And some on social media have, since you've announced your candidacy, said, well, you're working as a spoiler vote undercover. How would you respond to that?
If I was a spoiler vote undercover, would I have left the Congress of the People in protest of Prakash Ramadar's handling of what took place the Monday evening when the Minister of National Security was fired? I have distanced myself from the political leader of the Congress of the People who appointed me as a caretaker for the same seat. If what I wanted was to be a spoiler, I would be enjoying government war chest funds and building a UNC or a partnership office. The journey as an independent is an uphill journey. We go to the same people that they go to and ask them for money, and they say, well, you could give to me. We're sitting in meetings and planning barbecues and car washes. We're looking for people to text us $10 because campaigns cost money. A live broadcast of a campaign is $50,000, $60,000, $75,000 when you set it up and you book airtime and stuff on Gaia, these fancy stations. Yes?
Let's try to call other stations.
I get those things free.
Let's be sensitive, please.
I apologize. He's not free to air anymore. He's not.
Let's not just put the other stations. Joel D'Souza, and this question goes for Oliver Savage, Joel, and this, you know, let's presume you're elected against the odd, the independent candidate for the seat which you're contesting. Where are you going to get the resources as an independent to deal with the issues in your constituency? Many are suggesting that's one of the challenges that you may have.
And as an MP, the constituency is now, as you know, allowed a certain amount of funding per year. And it's quite a substantial amount. Every constituency that I have been in, we've been into each other's constituency, there is the same, talk that if you really drive through some of the constituencies, it's dirty, it's ugly, it's just not. I went into his constituency and I heard a lady who just came back from the UN. She gave a synopsis of Diego Martin West, and I was very shocked because I had remembered in when Ramesh Maharaj was a MP. He was just an MP. He did over the entire Gasparilla, and he was just an opposition MP. So I found that if now Keith Rowley is the leader of the opposition, I thought he would be able to get much more done in his area. And so even in your area too, it's the same sentiments that you're hearing. There's not enough recreation for children to go to. You've got to travel out of your area. The roads are not well done. The streets are not lit up properly. It's the same thing we've got in San Fernando. So as for funding, could you believe if the three of us went in and won our seats and we had to join, obviously we would have to join with the government, when they want to give our constituency exactly
why would we have
what
to
we
join
need?
with the government?
Well, how would you pass the laws? If you were to get, let's just say.
So your vote will become valuable in that way?
That's correct.
And the House of
And you all know.
I want to respond a little to what you're talking about, which is like the government withholding money from you because...
I'm not saying there was
no, I'm talking about the
perception is that if you're not in government, your constituency suffers. That's sometimes
that's the perception.
That's the perception.
But I want to just say to people who are thinking this way, that people who are in government, the constituency is suffering. But more than that, when a government is elected, they become the government of the nation. Not the government of their voters, not the government of their parties, not the government of their constituencies. They're the government of the country. And this is what this journey is about for me, to start challenging and confronting things like that. Because it's not so. They are the government of their constituencies, and they are the government of their friends and their family. And I want to fight that, and I'm fixing for a fight, boy. I'm ready for that.
And Paul also,
yeah,
true, well said.
Are you working together in some
Not yet.
way?
Not yet.
No, I'm serious. I'm asking a question.
No.
Discussions before.
People have been asking. People have been asking.
Since he declared.
But I'm having these boys at my meeting on the 16th, and I want him to mash up the place.
No, but Paul, people have been asking if there is any chance of an alliance of independence.
That's an oxymoron. You can't have such a...
Well, I was just telling our producer upstairs that the alliance of independence to me is some kind of...
That's a different type of thing. At best, we hope to remain committed to our constituents. But as I said earlier, elections cost money. And there's a need now, Errol is a champion of this, to educate the public as to how Westminster really works, why an independent is your best choice in the House, how that would translate to you and your issues being addressed in a national conversation. At best, we could share synergies, share costs, help each other, join in a national education program as to how the two-party system is frustrating the democracy. Our constitution doesn't even recognize that.
The next question is primarily for Errol and Joel. Your two constituencies are considered marginal.
Right.
Does that give you an advantage or a disadvantage, Joel?
With the opponent I have now, it's at a way at advantage. You know, it's a very big advantage. See, I've always worked with the poor people. I've always been on the ground where I am. I've always worked with the dogs. I've always worked with rape crisis, and so my opponent is a highfalutin lawyer, and he sits on a $1,000 invitation to see him, and so I am on the ground with the people.
But he has profile. He has a voice in the House of Representatives.
Well, as a senator, he's not a seat. He's been given that voice. He's not been elected to say that. Matter of fact, sometimes I think that when he talks, he doesn't even know, he doesn't remember what the question was. So, quite frankly, I was waiting on him on Friday.
Well, strange job.
But I know I want to go straight to Errol, but let me tell you something. In 2010, Rocky Garcia came within a couple hundred votes of Keith Rowley. All three Bigger Martin seats are also marginal now.
Do you consider your seat a marginal also?
It's definitely a marginal.
He's held the seat for decades.
He's held it for long because of traditional tribalized voting, but the moment it ever had a real contest, and in 2010 it had a real contest, in 2015 he's going to have the fight of his life.
I agree.
St. Joseph is not that easy. St. Joseph is a real fight. It's a very big constituency with vastly different communities living in it. It's real big. It's all of Valsin North, all of Aranguez, St. Joseph, half of Curate, Mount Lambert, Mount Hope, Samoa, Pitiboo, everywhere.
Part of Samoa.
It's not an easy fight. It's not an easy fight for anybody. It's not a walk in the park for me. It's work. But I've never stopped working in the constituency. I've been doing as much as I can do in the constituency, and that is not because I want to get elected. It's because it's what's in my heart. Now I want to get elected, so I'm going to mount a campaign. But it's not going to be easy. The other thing at the PNM is grease, lightning coming in a tail. That's not easy. The UNC, powerful, the in government, and they're coming to fight a serious fight inside there.
We've seen election campaigns in the last two elections. And certainly in the last 5 years with the local government election, the Tobago House of Assembly, and the by-elections, they become quite nasty. There's no other way to describe it. Personal lives are now being put on public display. Let me start with you, Edelmis. Do you think your personal truth and your transition, your transgender woman, is going to become an issue in the campaign?
Oh my God, I welcome it. I welcome it. I saw this week someone put up something like that, and I saw that I saw it had more than 4,000 to 5,000 people comment on the fact that they have families, they have children, they have people that are different, whether you want to call it gender, whether you want to call it cerebral palsy, whether you want to call it what. And I think that that is only going to be a really, really problem for those that want to go down that road.
Is this country open-minded enough to elect its first transgender member of parliament?
Well, I think so. I think that they're going to judge not by that. I think they're going to judge by the fact that I can work. I think that they know that I'm going to do what I say. I'm going to work at what I am promising. I don't think in my area, the people in my area, we've practically grown up together. So I don't think they see anything like that. You know, I'm not a monster.
You think you've amassed a level of respect to move past that sort of discussion on the campaign trail?
I promise you they will not ask those questions. If they ask those questions, you trust me, the public will judge them. And they will not like you. Haven't you seen what has happened with that? With the two topics with the class?
So is this country past that sort of discussion?
I hope we are, because talking about Joel's transgender issues are not more important than talking about why hasn't Faris Arawi been referred to the Privileges Committee for misusing the privilege to be a senator to advocate on behalf of a client for financial gain. That was an abuse, that was an obscenity, it was abhorrent. He should have been ejected from the Senate. That should be the conversation. We need to get people back, and the population seems to be saying, We want no dog and cat comments. We want no rape politics. We want issues. The public understand. If you have $100 billion passing through the country every year, how is it affecting my life?
We're going to take a break. We continue our conversation with our 3 independent candidates on Political Capital. Stay with us.
If you're just now tuning in, there was a massive explosion at the Central Intelligence Agency. The damage this attack has done is unprecedented.
I can't get out of here. Tell everyone I love them.
Al-Qaeda has released a martyr tape of Congressman and Vice Presidential frontrunner Nicholas Brody.
By the time you watch this, you'll regret a lot of things about me, about what I've done.
Super secret spies living next door. They look like us. They speak better English than we do. They're not allowed to say a single word in Russian once they get here.
President Reagan is outraged that the KGB thinks it can kidnap someone with impunity on American soil.
Our war is not so cold anymore, Elizabeth.
It's probably a coincidence.
Or they're onto us.
And this is what? We take those risks every day, Philip. That's what we do.
Welcome back. It's Political Capital right here on the Election Capital CTV. Our guests are 3 candidates who have officially declared their intention to run as independents. Errol Fabian, who is running once again for the St. Joseph seat. Philip Edward Alexander, who is running against incumbent Dr. Keith Rowley for the Diego Martin West seat. And Joel D'Souza, who is running against incumbent Carlin C. Prasad Bechan for the San Fernando West seat. One of the issues that is going to come up in the election is how you use social media. Hillary Clinton is set to announce, according to our reports, her candidacy, second bid for the United States presidency, via social media. Right. She's not doing the traditional big rally stage, thousands of people, which she's recording a message, and she's going to put it on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, etc. How are you using social media, or is that part of your strategy? Let me start with Joel on that.
We have been using social media, but our main, how my constituency is set up, we have been actually working with the people in the area. So we have 2 teams, one team that works the ground and one team that works the social media.
Philip, are you worried about the double-edged sword that is social media? While it's very powerful, we've seen 2 people lost their jobs because of racist comments on social media, and people can put stuff on people's walls, etc., giving the implication that, well, Philip said X and Y, or Philip holds this particular view when you may not. It's also something that's very difficult to manage.
Correct. I've been on 2 other television shows this week speaking specifically to issues such as that. And we need to be a little more sophisticated, but the social media is self-correcting. Traditional media is learning social media, but social media corrects itself. You can tell if somebody puts out a statement by Errol Fabian as a picture on social media. Errol don't need nobody to put up a picture for him. Errol will say what Errol have to say. It's easy.
But that may not be the information conveyed to the wider public, damaging Errol's reputation.
And I had to tell that to somebody this morning, if your political views are swayed by a joke or third-hand information about Errol Fabian, you're not really politically involved.
But there may be people who may be swayed by that. It's not something you can just dismiss like that.
Well, you're correct. And we have to be more savvy, all of us who are going to be using social media, and that is across the board. Everybody who's, you mentioned earlier Hillary Clinton. Beyonce dropped her latest album only on social media. She used social media in
selling music and selling yourself versus 2 different things.
It's a much more, but I'm just saying to you that there's a traditional market for music. And if that traditional market has given way, it's only a matter of time, Paul, before your show is viewed. You will get numbers that your viewership, the largest majority, look at your show on the phone.
Let me ask some better questions. How would you approach, what's your opinion on how we should approach Trinidad and Tobago's economy in the specter of falling oil prices?
Well, I think we need to look at gas first when we want to look at the fall in oil prices. We have been selling our gas for small money to the United States, who is, in the next couple of years already, the biggest gas player in the world, and we have declining reserves. And they have like about the biggest reserve in the world soon with respect to natural gas. They're the biggest natural gas player. We didn't look down the road in making decisions about our energy. And I want to see that. I want to see an energy sector that looks down the road. Don't be hurried to pedal off and extract all of what it's in the ground itself. It is spoiling. And let us see, because I think we have greater need for our natural gas than we had, than the good that we put the money to that we've gotten for natural gas so far.
Agreed.
I haven't seen the development from that.
How do we tackle crime in a sustainable way in Trinidad and Tobago?
By dealing with the root causes of crime. We have issues like the easy access to guns. We've known for years we need a maritime security role or some sort of apparatus to prevent the free flow. You could drive your pirogue up any river today or your Bertram yacht into any yacht club and no customs, no police looking over what you're moving. Contraband moves in and out of this country free sheet. That needs to be addressed. We also have the issues of poverty. We have Cocorite becoming a hot spot. Cocorite is a bowl carved into a mountain with 2 entrances and 1 back door. You know how easy it is to secure Cocorite, Harding Place and Waterhole? We need a Ministry of National Security and a Commissioner of Police who takes these things seriously. But you don't just need lockup and lockdown. You need to also go into Cocorite and give these people hope and opportunity. We need to tackle from the bottom up. Morvant, Beetham, Laventille, Sealots, Richplain, Covey, Mercer, Bagatelle, Lansmeter, you name it. All of these depressed areas, we need to go in there, work with the literacy people, make sure that our people could go out and fill out an application form and get a job. That our education system, we have a fantastic education system. People have opportunities from birth to death. We need to make sure that all of our people are taking advantage of this, because education is the key to free you from poverty, which is what is driving most of our crime.
Intimate partner violence, rape, domestic violence is one of the most insidious challenges Trinidad and Tobago faces. How would you, as an MP and someone who has a voice in Parliament, deal more effectively with that in Trinidad and Tobago?
Right. Well, one thing is that I thought with this government, that's why, you know, people were so eager to employ them, is that there were several lawyers there, as you know, and very high-profile lawyers who dealt with cases similar to that. So first to begin, I thought they would implement more detection and
what would
prosecution. What is what I'm saying? I would find the mechanism. I know the mechanism. The mechanism is an RLM. I would find a mechanism where they would be able to do some sort of a strategy for us to have detection and
what is our
Ramesh Lawrence Mirage. The only person I know that could fix crime in TNT, the only person I know that has
Ramesh Lawrence Mirage was an attorney general for several years, and crime wasn't fixed. As actually on that administration, the then Prime Minister threw up his arms and said, well, you know, 500 plus murders, no one can fix it. How did Ramesh fix crime?
In 1995, I think we were called all over the world. People used to call us the Wild Wild West, and a matter of fact, it was that caused the then Prime Minister, Mr. Manning, to call the election. And if you remember, murders and drugs and so what it's peaked. And
so as an MP, your solution to crime is Ramesh Lawrence Mirage?
Is to work with him, is to find out is to see some of his plans. He's got many great plans on how we can bring down crime. So, because I have worked on some of those plans, it's just that they've just not been implemented.
So he's a part of your team officially? Or,
no, he's not.
Or you just use his expertise?
No. I just like his expertise.
If I could weigh in on that, though, I mean, Ramesh and all the other attorneys general notwithstanding, rape is a symptom, violent crime against women is a symptom of a society at war with itself, and we need to start to deal with that. We need a lot of social re-engineering in this country. We need to reboot the republic.
But how do you get them, charged? How does the charge stick on them?
No, I mean, that is a separate thing. You're talking about the mechanisms of law enforcement and prosecution. But besides that, we need to get people to not be wanting to rape. And that is the issue. That needs to be addressed at the root. What drives...
That is where the thing is, because in a lot of we're talking about is criminal activity. And fighting criminals and fighting crimes crime is two different things. Crime fighting and criminal fighting is two different things. I call for different types of people. Fighting criminals is police, army, yes. But when you want to fight crime, we're talking about social work, we're talking about education. From preschool, we're talking about building the minds of people who will grow up in a society that perpetuates crime. Crime is a big, big business in this country, you know. If you follow crime and see how much people making money on security, lawyer making money, bailsmen, court.
If I could,
I would not reserve my fight to those depressed areas you call. No, I want to go to Westmoreland and all these places too, because crime is universal.
Crime is universal, but I want to say this. Prior to the 2010 election, in fact, after the 2007 election, I wrote a program for the Congress of the People called RISE. And RISE was about twinning constituency and communities with the upper class and the lower class and the middle class and the depressed areas to identify what do the children in Westmoreland have that the children in Kokori do not have. The extracurricular activities, the homework supervision, the intimacy and love of a connected family. What is keeping this family together while breaking this family apart? And that program, I offered it for free.
That program, Philip Alexander, presumes there is no rape in Westmoreland. There's no rape in
I am not saying that. What I'm saying to you is our society, and Errol just said it, there are different issues for each constituency. There are different types of crime prevalent in different communities. What he is saying, and I agree with him 100%, is you must first understand the type of crime you're dealing with and apply the medicine for that.
We have a couple of minutes left. I'm going to give each of you in order a chance to take 30 seconds, 45 seconds, and say why someone should vote for you as an independent against the odds in a situation or a system that has not shown that it votes for independence, so it elects independence. Fabian.
I say to you to vote for me, not against the odds of me being in Parliament, but against the odds of you having to sit down on your hands and do nothing for the 5 years. Vote for me, get me into Parliament, but get ready to work. We come in to work because there's a lot of work to do. It's time to wake up Trinidad and Tobago. And if you're anywhere else in the world, in the Caribbean, the wider Caribbean, it's time to wake up. I want to get to Parliament because I know I could work and I can get you to work with me. Let us work. There's no walk in the park, my friends. Those days, they're over. We're going in a direction that is not very pleasant to look at. And I don't believe the political parties going to get us where we want to go. We need to get into Parliament and get them in check. Let's go.
Mr. Speaker, I hope I get injury time. The Diego Martin West slogan is representation that delivers. I look forward to meeting the incumbent on the campaign trail. I know what I have been able to accomplish and deliver in the past 5 years. I want to contrast and compare it to what he has been able to deliver in over the past 25 years. And I think that, more than anything, should give the thinking people of Diego Martin West the obvious choice.
Abdullah D'Souza.
I want to see proper representation. I want to see my MP there. I am saying that we will not take a position as an MP, as a minister. We are saying that we will work in the community all the time, every day. I want to see more real representation. I want to see us get a piece of the pie. I want to see us with more jobs. So, and with me being independent, we don't have to toe the party lines, none of us. So that is what's going to make all of the difference, is that we will sit in our constituency and we will develop it and demand that it be brought up to that of Port of Spain, Chaguanas and those.
Thank you all three for coming over to us in your campus. All right, we're going to take a short break and come back with more. This is Political Capital on CTV.
It's always such a joy for me to return to Naparima College. It was during my NAPS years that my interest and career in cricket really took off. I've seen over the years so many talented cricketers learn the game by playing in their community teams or with family and friends, and they learn on the fly, developing their own style, but without a sure foundation. So later on, when they do enter into an advanced team, they have to go through a process of unlearning and relearning proper technique. This was the genesis of the Darren Ganga Cricket Coaching DVD.
General Electric elections will be here soon, but how informed are you about the polls, voting procedure and the electoral seats? Talk City 91.1 FM brings to you an informative and interactive discussion series examining the marginal seats and discussing the runoff polls in Previewing the Polls from April 20th to May 8th, Monday to Friday at 3 p.m. Join Andy Johnson, Ria Rupchan Singh with political scientist Dr. Hamid Ghani and other experts in the field. Join in on the discussion live on air. Learn what the seats and electoral process mean and get answers to your questions. Previewing the Polls, 3 to 4 p.m. starting April 20th, Monday to Friday on Talk City 91.1 FM.
11:51 Rocket Markets Political Capital, right here on the election headquarters. CTV, our guest on set with us now is CLNG political analyst Dr. Hamid Ghani. Dr. Ghani, good morning.
Good morning.
I didn't know much of a conversation with the three independent candidates you were able to catch, but the history is not in their favor. Mm-hmm. You know, they say they will go against the odds because they want to serve, and because there is according to a NACTA poll, more than 50% of the population disenchanted with the existing monolithic political entities or the coalition, as it were. We just saw the Stimulation My Solution poll, which showed a large 35 to 33% undecideds, not necessarily meaning the undecideds will vote for the independents, but certainly showing that, well, there's a level of disenchantment.
Well, I think that the independents clearly bring to the table in this current environment of social media and different types of media a different perspective than may have existed 20, 30, 40 years ago, in the sense that they can reach people as part of their campaign and raise issues. One of the things that they might be able to do is that those who are disenchanted with the process may find an alternative or somewhere else to put a vote, if there are those, rather than staying out. So that one of the things that independents may offer, I mean, the major political parties have their voter banks already, and there are those who are loyalists and so on, and then there's a swinging band of voters who would normally tilt an election one way or the other, and the independents obviously will want to operate in that particular domain. I don't know how much success they will have with the party loyalists who are going to vote this party or that party until they die, so that I think the independents also will raise
the challenge to gain enough critical mass to go past the loyalists on either the PNM, or the UNC/coalition side to get to those undecideds, you know, effectively.
Well, the issues that they're going to raise, and then you raise one of the things about where we get the resources if they were elected. And I think Joel D'Souza is the one who raised the issue of the Constituency Development Fund. Now, that is a proposal that this government put forward a couple of years ago, and I think it's mired somewhere in the bureaucratic discussions with regard to how the money will be paid out and accounted for, etc. It's a proposal that this government wants to pursue. And if it does, it means that each constituency will get about $10 million, each MP will get about $10 million. It's not yet enacted, but it is something, obviously, that has attracted the attention of one independent in answer to a question that you raised, and therefore it raises a very critical issue of where an MP would get resources, because as it is now, MPs don't really have resources. They make representations because they are representatives. Of course, if they are ministers, they have a little more access to resources because of the influence they can bring to bear in respect of lobbying on behalf of their constituencies, etc. And the tradition has grown up in our political culture from the independence period to now, that independent MPs really, or if you are in opposition, you are at a disadvantage in our particular political process. So we need to look at that aspect as well, that the Constituency Development Fund can in fact make a difference.
How much power do they have as a spoiler vote, if I can classify it as that? As in the US, when an independent resident is able to amass a certain number of votes, not necessarily votes to win, but certainly votes to influence people to vote either or. And as we saw in the St. Joseph by-election, where the ILP, there was a suggestion by some political analysts that had it not been for the ILP involved in that race, you may have seen a different outcome, where the challengers were Terence Dial Singh, Ian Allen. I think it's Mr. Lala for the ILP and Errol Fabian.
Right. Well, in that particular instance, the margin of the PNM winner over the UNC second place was 780 votes. the ILP got 1,976, and Errol Fabian got 300. So you had about 2,200 votes that went somewhere else, but the margin of victory between first and second was 780.
Which means that the differences in the two other candidates were significant.
Well, what you're looking at here is the way that the political process will play itself out, because what you had was an MP who was winning the seat with less than 50% of the votes cast, and the total number of votes of all the others, when combined, in fact amounted to in excess of 50%. But that's the system that we have. There is a proposal for a runoff system which has not yet gone through its final stage in the House of Representatives in respect of approval. So as it stands right now, the system we're working with is the current system. But in a marginal seat like St. Joseph and in a marginal seat like San Fernando West, you're going to have clearly a strategic intervention by independent candidates that could have an impact on the process, especially if there's a close election. So that
who has more to lose, generally, usually?
Well, that's difficult to predict, because that's a moving target. That has gone either way over the years in respect of how people speculate how these persons would have voted if they only had two choices. But when you have a multiplicity of choices, what happens with social media, and this election is going to be basically a social media election. I mean, this for the first time, social media is going to have a huge impact.
How much of an impact is it going to have? We've seen Barack Obama win elections based on two elections based on social media. Hillary Clinton is announcing today on social media.
Right, and she did so the last time as well. So I think that we cannot underestimate the role that social media will play in competition with mainstream media.
Is it targeting younger voters primarily?
It's more likely to have a connection with the more techno-savvy persons in our society who tend to be younger because they are from a particular generation, and therefore the demographic that can reach. And of course that will reach any and everywhere. It's not confined to you having to go and have a political meeting down in some quiet village somewhere. Someone in the village already has a device that can access
and has daily political meetings.
It's not like you have to be in an urban area where there's a crossroads of information going on. You could reach people just about anywhere, even while they're on vacation outside of the country. They're still connected. So that we cannot underestimate the role that social media will play. And right now there's a huge social media controversy going on about social media and its engagement with mainstream media and mainstream media's response to social media and social media. So that we're already seeing the impact of it. And as this goes forward into the election campaign, it's going to get more intense.
How important is it in 60 seconds or less for political entities, be they independent or otherwise, to manage social media? Because it can be a double-edged sword, damaging some parties if persons who are associated with the party runs afoul on social media, as we may have seen in the past.
Well, the running afoul is how it gets reported in mainstream media, and that's what happens. So that social media can hit back and mainstream media can hit back, and there's a war going on between the two platforms, and that is going to be interesting to see how the voters eventually resolve those showdowns between the two types of media in their minds and their votes.
Is it an oxymoron to have an alliance of independence, as many are suggesting?
Well, it's a party symbol, and they're talking about having a political leader. So it could be that it's a conglomeration of persons who have independent views about things, but they're still trying to find common ground among themselves.
But it's not what the CP is about, and not an alliance of independence.
Well, once you form a political party, you're going to need political discipline. Otherwise, if it's just a free-for-all and anybody can say anything, then the whole thing will fall apart.
Which is COP suffers
so what you need is political discipline if you form a political party. If you're going to be independent, then you're independent.
Dr. Ghani, thank you so much.
Thanks.
Always a pleasure. That's our CNMG political analyst, Dr. Hamid Ghani. That's our show for today. We want to thank you for viewing. Don't forget to keep it right here tomorrow morning on Good Morning TNT, more delving into politics, and stay tuned. Ruskin Mark has Sport Capital up next right here on CTV.
Trinbergonian is a unique thinker. Get the facts from the only newscast to give you all sides. Get the facts. Demanded the truth. We do. You do. Declare your independence. Only C gives it all.
From politics, current affairs, business, and sport, we bring you the latest as it happens on the ground in Trinidad and Tobago. Human interest stories, science and technology, to what's trending now and the environment. Join me, Samantha John, every weeknight at 7 for the C News Report. C News, compelling, committed, credible.
I am Paul Richards, welcoming you to Survivor Season 2 on behalf of my co-host Alana Mahis, where we talk to persons who have been through so many challenges in their life: heart attack, cancer, domestic violence, incarceration, and many other challenges in life, talking about their struggles and their victories. Survivor Season 2, 8 to 9 p.m. on Thursdays and 6 to 7 p.m. on Saturdays, right here on CTV.
A very good afternoon to one and all, and welcome once again to this week's edition of the Sea Sports Capital, the fastest growing sports program in TNT. And what a program we have lined up for you today, featuring some cycling as well as action from the Carifta Games and a whole lot more. But as usual, before we go forward, we tend to go back to the week that was in sport.
Easter weekend usually means cycling in arena at the Grand Prix and track and field at Carifta Games, and this year was no exception. The riders took to the track at the Velodrome in Arena, and although the rains badly disrupted the action on the first day, it didn't stop sprinter Quincy Alexander from setting the fastest time in the 200 meters qualifiers, stopping the clock at a sizzling 10.735 seconds. That was a sign as he went on to clinch the match sprint title in fine style with two blistering rides to hold off the Argentine Pablo Parachute. Each time, Alexander proved too strong for his opponent on the day. A similar thing among the women, as the American Dana Feiss was just too good for the locals and dominated the women's division with some scintillating sprint finishes. Roy Alexander dominated the sprints. Varun Mirage came to the party on day 2 and dominated with 3 wins on Saturday night to wrap up the best international rider at the Grand Prix title. In the elimination event, Mirage again showed great tactical awareness to power to the line to steal a win from some more noted sprinters in the fold. Then, in the curtain event, he again came over the top with 3 laps to go and caught the others napping. Initially, he got into the slipstream of Barry Lucas of Rictec Sonics, hoping that he would pace him around the track, but Mirage found his pace too slow and eventually bolted on his own, and it paid off as he cruised home for an impressive win. The track action was then followed with a grueling road race from Diego Martin to Debe in South Trinidad on Sunday morning. And when the dust cleared, Philip Clark of Barbados stole the honors with a well-timed ride, followed closely by fellow Barbadian Matthews, and Marlo Redmond of Jamaica filled third. Christine Farr was the top female and fastest to Debe. And while that was taking place here at home, over in St. Kitts and Nevis, our young and aspiring track and field stars were putting in a good shift in the red, white and black, hoping to bring even more glory to our Calypso Island. In all, TNT returned with 22 medals, 3 less than the year before, but the returns were still pleasing, with some outstanding performances as TNT looked sharp in the 200 and the relays on the final night. But Trinidad and Tobago would be most impressed with the performance of their field athletes, who again led the way with some stunning performances in the jumps and throws.
What we see happening with the field programs, we are getting athletes to come into the field program. The jumps and the throws easier than the track programs, and I think that's something we need to work on. Set up sprints program, middle and long program, as well as work together with the throws and the jumps program that we have. We had some expectation, and I think the athletes, some of them really give it their all. And when you look at the girls under 20 4x4, the boys under 20, I thought we had a commendable performance.
Not to be outdone, Easter Monday also sees thousands flock to the Arima Race Club out at Santa Rosa Park for the Sport of Kings. Once